TPS for Haitians, and this time, Haitians are now calling the Trump administration to answer some questions in federal level. Yeah, there's another lawsuit about TPS for Haitians, and to understand the whole process much more better, there's no better person to talk to than one of a renowned attorney when it comes to immigration to the entire country, the whole United States, is the one and only Sir Ira Kurzban. Thank you so much for welcoming us to your beautiful office.
Thank you.
To have that one-on-one interview.
Great. Happy to be here. Thank you.
Thank you for all you do, not only from California, New York, Miami, all over the place. You have litigated over 100 federal cases when it comes to immigration rights. So you've been pretty busy.
I've been around a long time.
You've been around a long time. Let's talk first about the lawsuit, the latest, if I call. Your law firm is part of it to protect TPS for Haitians. Why, and what is the possibility the Haitian community will have to renew the TPS for Haitians?
Well, we recently did a lawsuit in the Eastern District of New York, which is in Brooklyn and in Queens, on behalf of all the Haitians who had TPS. And when Trump came in, they had TPS for 18 months. And when Trump came in, his secretary, Noam, cut that 18 months back to 12 months. And we brought a lawsuit on saying that you can't do that. The statute doesn't allow you to do that. It's completely illegal. The Trump people claim they had inherent authority to do whatever they want. You know, this is all of Trump's view of I'm the king and I can do what I want. And part of it was this was an inherent, their claim was they had inherent authority to cut it back from 18 months to 12. The judge disagreed. He agreed with us. The case is Hecker, H-E-C-A, versus Trump, and it's he recently issued an opinion on July 15th that basically vindicated the Haitians' position that they were entitled to the full 18 months. So when it was originally cut back to August 3rd, it's now put back to February 3rd. And it's very important that Haitians who have TPS know that, and that their work authorizations are automatically extended to February 3rd. So that was the first case. While that was going on, Noam once again terminated TPS entirely for Haitians on July 1st.
So right after that lawsuit, now to make sure that they respect the extension of TPS for Haitians all the way to February 2026.
Correct.
There's another decision made by the Director of Homeland Security, Noam, and you are challenging that.
We're challenging that as well. She issued that order on July 1st and published it in the Federal Register. She claims she did it before, but it was published in the Federal Register on July 1st. And the statements made really border on being ridiculous. I mean, they acknowledge, as they have to, that the conditions in Haiti are terrible given, all the criteria for TPS. There are ecological problems, there are health problems. The food insecurity is very high in Haiti. There's obviously political instability due to the gangs and so forth. Those are the criteria that you're supposed to use to determine TPS. They kind of gloss over those, even though, as you know, the U.S. government has now characterized Haiti as a Category 4. Americans shouldn't go there. They're willing to send Haitians back, 500,000 Haitians back. And the bottom line on all of this is that their excuse is it's not in the national interest to keep Haitians here. It doesn't even make sense. It's kind of in my view, very frivolous. We've sued. We've said it's all pretextual because, as you may know, Trump, and your listeners may know, Trump has for a long time gone after Haiti and Haitians. He did this in his first term. We stopped the rollback of TPS in a case called Saget. And now we're trying to do the same thing in the Miot case. And what we're basically saying is Trump has a long history of discrimination based on race and national origin a real kind of almost visceral hatred for Haitians that's difficult to understand, given the fact that Haitians have come here, they've been hardworking people, they've contributed to American society, they've paid their taxes. The crime rates are very, very low. They're half of what Americans commit in crimes in the United States. So it's difficult to understand this reaction other than a history of racial and national origin discrimination. And that's what we allege in the lawsuit.
What do you make of some of the members of the Trump administration saying that TPS is literally was a thank you, an executive order by the president, and the president has the right to not renew TPS?
Well, first of all, I'd say they don't understand what the TPS statute is. It was passed in 1990 by Congress. It wasn't some executive order like Trump issues all these executive orders. It's an act of the United States Congress. And it's a very structured act. It's an act that says if there are certain conditions in other countries, we will allow people to stay here temporarily for a 6-month, 12-month, or 18-month period. We will renew those periods if the conditions remain. And there's a whole process for doing that, which is they have experts, or used to have experts in the Department of Homeland Security, that would look at each country's conditions, whether it was Nepal or Cameroon or Haiti or Venezuela. They'd look at the conditions, they'd determine whether or not the conditions have sufficiently changed to warrant and allow people to go back. We had that if the conditions change, for example, in a country where we've had an eruption of a
hurricane or political turmoil.
A hurricane or a volcano, and then things have settled down, people can go back. We have allowed people to go back, and we've told them you only get another 6 months or another 18 months, and that's it, and you must go back home. Haiti, of course, since the earthquake in 2010, has only gotten worse, unfortunately, in terms of all the criteria that you use for TPS, whether it's environmental because of the hurricanes, whether it's medical because of the cholera epidemic, whether it's political because of the gang violence and instability in the country. Those things have increased. Haiti has food insecurity for the majority of people in the country right now. Over 1 million people are displaced. There's no question that under the criteria that Congress sent, not some whim of the president or his secretary, but that the Congress actually determined under that criteria, there's no question but that the Haitians qualify. And so we sued, saying you can't just argue national interest, some vague national interest. And what they're trying to do, so it's clear, I think, to the Haitian community, what they're trying to do is to smear the Haitian community by what's going on with the gangs in Haiti. What they're doing is they're implying that somehow we can't send people back because there are bad gangs in Haiti and some of those people are here in the U.S. But as you may know, you cannot get TPS if you have any criminal record. So, if you have 2 or more misdemeanors or a felony, you're ineligible for TPS. So they're trying to do what they often do, which is confuse the public by taking one thing, like they did with Venezuela and Tren de Aragua. The Venezuelans here who have TPS have no criminal record. They couldn't get TPS if they had a criminal record. But the idea of kind of confusing it and smearing them and saying, that Haitians are not good people, so we need to send them back in the national interest.
I'm glad you mentioned the background check before you even become a beneficiary of the TPS, the temporary protected status. But the government is saying a lot of the TPS recipients, whether from Venezuela, from Nicaragua, Cuba, and Haiti, are criminals. Let's talk about the background vettings that they have to do before the Homeland Security send you whether a letter to say, now you have TPS or you have a work permit to work on the TPS.
Yeah, they're vetted in the sense that their fingerprints are taken, a background check is done, They are not given TPS until they're vetted in the sense of, that background check. And when that background check shows no criminal records at all, or, it's minor misdemeanor or something like that, they will be given TPS. They even give TPS under the statute to people who have final orders of deportation. See, that's one of the other things that I think this administration is trying to do to confuse the public. First, they're talking about criminals. Then they're saying, well, people who have stayed here illegally, they're kind of criminals too, and therefore they should be sent back. But that isn't what the statute says. The statute even allows someone who has a final order of deportation to get temporary protected status if they have no criminal record, no serious criminal record. So that vetting, that process goes on before they're granted it. And it's true, by the way, of the Biden parole program where many Haitians came in, and Venezuelans and Cubans and Nicaraguans. It's true of any refugee program that we have in the U.S. We don't just open the borders and allow people in. Those groups, particularly TPS, refugees, Biden parolees, they were all pre-screened before they came in. So really, what is this all about? What it's all about is a phony promise that Trump made, a lie to the American people, saying he's going to get rid of millions of people. So Stephen Miller, who's the one really running the whole thing, I don't even know sometimes if Trump really understands what's going on, but Miller, who's running the whole show here, what they have done is they have said, we're going to take legal people, make them illegal, and then we can deport them from the United States. So what's really going on here is if you take the Venezuelans, the Nicaraguans, the Haitians, the Cubans, the Biden parolees, you have 1.7 million people who are legal and have been legal. If we take away their status, then we can tell the American people, see, we're deporting all these people. But these are legal, hardworking, tax-paying friends and neighbors of the American people who live in our communities. They're not, quote, criminals. They're not people who have criminal records the way they're trying to characterize it.
I want to go back to the lawsuit.
Sure.
And when I told our viewers, especially the Haitian community, that I will have an exclusive interview with you, the first question I have received was, we know that he's a fighter. Will we win that fight in terms of winning that lawsuit so TPS will be extended for Haitians after February 2nd? So based on all the evidence you presented, all the facts, do you think that your law firm is part of the lawsuit, that there's a huge possibility judge will listen and said, you guys are right?
I think we have a good chance in the lower courts. What will happen in the Supreme Court, we don't know. The Supreme Court is really, in many respects, given the president a blank check to do what he wants to do, and sometimes true also in the appellate courts, where they've given the president a blank check. But almost all of those, and I would say really all of them, are not on the facts. They're not on the factual basis of what is really going on. What they often are on is what we call jurisdictional questions. That is, does the court have the power to stop the president? Does the court have the authority to issue an order, an injunction? As your viewers may know, in certain cases, like in birthright citizenship, the Supreme Court has said you can't have a nationwide injunction. So now the question is, well, can you do it another way? Can you do it through the Administrative Procedures Act? Can you do it through class actions? That's why we have a class action that we are going to file, and we have something under what we call the Administrative Procedures Act. Now, whether or not that will survive a Supreme Court challenge, I don't know. But I will tell you one thing, and I've said this repeatedly. Mass deportation requires mass demonstrations. We're never going to win this struggle, whether it's the Haitian community, the Venezuelan community, or anywhere else, unless people are in the streets peacefully demonstrating and letting the American people know who they are And, you know, I've had this personal experience with Father Gerard Jean-Just in the 1970s here in Miami, when the same thing happened. They wanted the Haitians gone. They didn't want Haitians here. And we won lawsuit after lawsuit, but it was because people were demonstrating in the street. And think about it. There's 1.7 million people here who are going to have their status taken away. I know some people are afraid. I know some people don't want to be out there when they're surrounded by masked men, you know, and being taken away. But the only way that we're going to ultimately win this is not in the courts, I believe. I believe you're going to win it in the streets of America, and the American public is going to understand who the people are who Trump and Miller and the others want to deport.
I'm glad you mentioned our late Gerard Jean-Just father. He was a fighter.
My hero.
He said,
Your hero. And, you know, remember all the stories as he was laid down in the middle of the street to avoid big shark going inside of the chrome.
Right.
And all those fights. So you talk about the nationwide injunction. Is that an obstacle for you, knowing the law? You've been a fighter for a very long time. You know immigration laws. Will that represent an obstacle to move forward in cases to defend immigrants?
I don't think so. I think we have other ways of dealing with it. Nationwide injunctions, I think, interestingly enough, the Supreme Court never took up the issue when these nationwide injunctions were against Biden. They chose to pick it up at the time when it was against Trump. But there's always been this issue, really, legally, as to the benefits and detriments of a nationwide injunction. I mean, one can understand, for example, why should we have some judge sitting somewhere in Louisiana in the Western District where there's only one judge who's sitting there, who may be conservative, be able to stop a liberal program throughout the United States? So it works both ways. This time, of course, it had to do with birthright citizenship. I believe we're going to win that battle. I believe, and every court that has looked at the merits of it has said, you know, birthright citizenship is an integral part of our whole history and our constitutional system. So I think eventually we'll win. I think people misunderstand sometimes what the Supreme Court does, because the court there never ruled on birthright citizenship. They just ruled on the technical question of whether or not a judge sitting somewhere in the United States could enter an order that would affect everybody in America. Now they didn't, by the way, deny it in all circumstances, and they did say you may have a class action, and immediately a class action was instituted in one of the birthright citizenship cases. So from our perspective, in terms of what we're doing, we believe the Administrative Procedures Act and class actions offer alternatives to nationwide injunctions. So I'm less worried about that legally. But there are other issues. There are issues of whether or not the court has the power to tell the executive branch what to do. And this Supreme Court has obviously given the executive much, much more leadway.
You are the past national president of the American Immigration Lawyers Association. You've been around for quite some time. When you are seeing the new immigration policies being implemented by that new administration, is that scary?
It's not scary. It's hurtful. It's cruel. It's unnecessary. I mean, Trump could have sealed the border, which actually was sealed by Biden in July of 2024. Most Americans don't know that. The border was closed as of July 2024. He could have just done that. He could have gone after the criminals he said he was going after, and he would have been a big success. But like everything they do, because most of this is really run by Miller, Stephen Miller, who's the person in the White House doing all this, there's a cruelty to it. There's almost a madness to it. I mean, it's obsessive about going after everyone. They have told people who work for the Immigration and Customs Enforcement, you bring us 3,000 people a day and we're going to deport them no matter what. I mean, for example, sending people to South Sudan, sending people to Libya just to scare them, having people with hoods on. I mean, I've been doing this 45 plus years. I have never seen an ICE officer wearing a hood and dressed in plain clothes and going out there and scaring people. And that's what it's about. And the question is why? And the answer to that is very simple. Miller, Trump, and that whole crew of people understand one thing. They can't deport all these people. So what do? You get them to self-deport. You get them so afraid. You act so in such a cruel manner that they are going to leave the country. Because after all, if I have to choose between going to Mexico voluntarily or being sent to South Sudan or to Libya, maybe I'm just going to self-deport. So the irony here is they're doing this carrot and stick thing. A lot of people have not seen the carrot part, but the carrot part is, we'll pay your trip back. We'll give you $1,000, just like in in a flight where, where the flight's overbooked, we're going to give you $1,000. So they've said all this, and why are they doing this? Alien registration to try and scare people. We're going to go after you for that. If you fail to leave, we're going to start fining you, and you're going to owe us millions of dollars. People who are paying taxes, they're getting IRS to work with
other agencies,
the other agencies, so they can get the funds, find out who in the undocumented community is paying taxes. Think about how stupid that is. We get $92 billion a year from people who are undocumented paying their taxes. Why? Because they think, well, maybe, I'll do the right thing and maybe I'll get my residency. I'm hardworking. I don't have any criminal record. I'm just being here to have better opportunities or whatever it is, or to flee persecution. Whatever the reason is, I'm here. I'm going to pay my taxes. I'm going to be a, quote, good citizen. They are firing people in the federal government because of Mr. Musk and Trump saying we need to save money, and at the same time they're cutting off $92 billion a year just out of spite so they can go after undocumented people. Americans never voted for that. And what's happening, obviously, is that Americans are now realizing that the Trump program, the Stephen Miller program, is not what Americans voted for. They voted to close the border, and they were right to some extent. I don't know it should be closed as much as it is. They voted for going after criminals. Everybody agrees that if people are hardcore violent criminals, the government should be going after them. It's a privilege to be in the United States. It's an honor to be here. We shouldn't have people committing those kinds of crimes, and they should be deported. But that was it. They didn't say deport our friends, our neighbors, our tax-paying, hardworking people who just want to be here and enjoy a better life, and many of whom have now been here. Think about TPS for Haiti. Many of them have been here 15 years or more, because TPS was started in 2010, but it included everybody who was here. So we have people who've been here 40 years, 30 years. Worked hard, done, and paid their taxes and did everything else. Those are the people they want to remove. And the American people never, ever, I believe, ever thought that that was going to happen.
Ira, you know well the Haitian community. I want to dedicate time to talk about the Haitian community and how they see you as well, the work that you do closely with the Haitian community. But first, I want to have your reaction to the new detention center, Alcatraz Alligator, that is right here in your backyard.
I won't call it that name. I call it the hellhole in the Everglades.
And
that's one of the geniuses of Trump and all these other people. They come up with a brand name, and then, of course, the people in the media follow it, and all of a sudden it becomes, if you want to call it anything, call it Alligator Auschwitz or something else, but don't call it Alligator Alcatraz. And the bottom line is, I think the whole operation is illegal, and we're going to find out very shortly whether it is or not. ICE is saying they don't run the facility. It's not their facility. They're saying it's just the state facility. But under the law, under the immigration laws and under state laws, the state has no right to hold people unless they have an agreement with the federal government. It's called the 287G agreement. We've never seen the agreement. The judge, correctly here in the Southern District of Florida, asked the government to produce it, and they were like, oh, well, we don't know, and it's difficult to get, which of course it's not. It's it's a contract. Either they have it or they don't have it. If they don't have a 287G agreement, the entire facility is illegal. Why? Because you can't pick up somebody if you're a state officer and hold them for immigration. There's something called a detainer where they say you can hold them for 48 hours. You can't hold them for a week or a month, and you certainly can't hold them in that kind of facility. So my view is the facility is illegal. People who are there should start getting lawyers. They should start suing under the Civil Rights Act, the 1983 Act, because under our Constitution, under the Fourth Amendment, they have no right to seize somebody's body and put them in a prison for reasons unless they've committed a crime. But there's no state crime here, right? And so what are they holding them for? Now, DeSantis thought he was getting away with it by getting up and saying, well, you know, all these people have final orders of deportation. Totally untrue. It's just a lie. And he got caught in the lie because there are many lawyers who are representing or trying to represent people who are there who don't have final orders. So on what basis is he holding people? There's no bond. They can't get a bond from ICE because ICE is taking the position, at least publicly, go talk to the state. We have nothing to do with it.
So do you or your law firm has client inside of that facility? And the second question is, can someone being detained inside of that facility legally can sue the state or can sue the government?
They can absolutely sue. They have a right under the Section 1983, which is the Civil Rights Act, to sue the state for holding them unlawfully in violation of the Fourth Amendment of the United States Constitution. They can sue the federal government if the federal government is under what's called the Federal Tort Claims Act. And this is an important thing, I think, for people in the Haitian community to know, which is, you know, when these ICE officers come and they just arrest people because you're Haitian or you're black or you look like you're not an American, that's a total violation of our law. Those ICE officers can be sued under something called the Federal Tort Claims Act. And one of the projects I'm working on is to start a project, national project under the Federal Torts Claim Act. Here in Florida, we're trying to put together the possibility of doing a lawsuit against the state under 1983 and under the violation of the Constitution.
Wow, that great piece of information for our community to understand the law, to know. And that's why we come to the source. You're not only practicing law, but you also written the law, right? You have 2 volumes about your books. We'll talk about that as well. But I wanted to have also maybe broadly on the surface, your understanding of there are certain cases in the Haitian community that I need to have your input into it. There's someone in the Haitian community, very powerful back in Haiti. He was born in the United States, U.S. citizen. He renounced his citizenship in the quest of hoping to win elections in Haiti. He didn't win. And now he's legally permanent resident in the U.S., being arrested. The first question I wanted to ask you is about how you renounce the U.S. citizenship, and can you ever get that back under immigration laws?
There is a provision where if you renounce your U.S. citizenship, if it wasn't done appropriately, it wasn't done properly, one can argue that their citizenship should not have been taken away, and you can bring a declaratory action saying that it was improperly taken. But if you voluntarily and knowingly and intelligently relinquished, really the only way you can become an American citizen again, and you can, but you have to start the process all over from first being a resident, and then after 5 years applying for citizenship. And you have to meet the good moral character requirements, you have to meet the residency requirements, you have to meet the physical presence requirements, but you can get your citizenship back.
And one of the reasons the immigration or law enforcement are detaining a lot of immigrants here is based on applications, or you were lying on the application. You didn't say the whole truth on the application. If you want to become a permanent resident in this country and you were a political figure, let's say in Haiti, if you fail to say, I was part of a political party, is that enough evidence to strip away your green card?
Well, for a number of years now, one of the questions that you're asked is, are you a member of any organizations? And they were using this against Muslims 15 years ago when, 10 years ago when Trump was president previously. They look at the questions. If you're not putting down truthfully and completely, like you're a member of an organization, but it's a very complex question, because do you have to be an active member of an organization? I mean, I give money to different organizations. Does that mean I'm really a member of the organization? We all probably get solicitations from lots of organizations.
But in that particular case, if you're a political figure, you are running for a public office.
Right.
So somehow you're a member or founder of that
Okay, if you're a member of a political party in Haiti, let's say, and they're asking you, have you been a member of an organization, you would want to put that down. The question is it material? That is, does it really matter? Would it lead to evidence that would question whether or not you can become a resident? The classic example is somebody who has children with another woman, is married to an American citizen, applies for a green card, and forgets to put down their children. And so somebody says, hey, wait a minute, had I known that those were your children, then I would have started asking other questions as to who's the mother, what kind of relationship, do you have a real relationship with the woman who's petitioning for you? That's what we mean by materiality. Does it really make a difference? Sometimes not putting down an organization is not material. And if it's not really material and not willful, it's just a mistake, you can make an argument.
I know you following Haiti closely, and also here in the U.S., the State Department issued a statement making it clear that if you are part of corruption in Haiti, if you are part of destabilizing the country or helping gangs in Haiti, there's no place here for you in the U.S. They have made some arrests. In the eye of the law, immigration law in this country, can the U.S. government arrest someone, someone with a visa or permanent green card, to say, hey, you are destabilizing Haiti, we arrest you under those charges?
It has to be a provision in the Immigration Act. Now remember, the Immigration Act not only can deport someone for conviction, they can deport someone if the government has reason to believe under certain reason to believe you're a drug trafficker, reason to believe that you are a money launderer, in other words, reason to believe you're a terrorist. There are provisions that use the phrase reason to believe, but they can't just say, well, we don't like you doing bad things in Haiti. That's a basis to deport you. It has to be a ground of deportation that Congress has passed. And then the question becomes, does the person also have a defense? In other words, okay, you're saying I can be deported, but I'm afraid to go back there. If I go back there, I'm going to be tortured. And the United States signed a convention called the Convention Against Torture, which says there's an absolute prohibition on sending anybody back to a country where they'll be tortured. There's another provision that says we will withhold deportation if a person's life or freedom would be threatened because of persecution. And then, of course, there's asylum, which says if you have a well-founded fear of persecution, we won't send you back there. Often those are used as defenses, even if you might be deportable. So, the interesting thing about immigration law after all these years is each case is really unique.
Very unique. We have very interesting to have that that explanation to better understand different issues and how to tackle them as well. Let's talk about the book because I know you have a lot of things to do for the day. But you really thank you so much for dedicating time to educating our community, our audience as well. You have two books. I know students been reading your books for quite some times, and not only that, also attorneys are using you as reference. Tell us about why you think it was important to pass on the knowledge from mouth to words.
Well, I didn't. I mean, what happened with this book was I was teaching. I've been teaching at the University of Miami School of Law since the 1980s, and they were my notes originally. And my view was I didn't think anybody would want to read my notes. And my family encouraged me, oh, you should try and make it a book. But the original book was about this big.
Wow.
Just notes in 1990. That's when I started writing it. And then it just blossomed, I mean, every year we would add to it. And I insisted that it only be one volume. And we had to give that up this past year. Actually past two volumes. So we're in the 19th edition. So in the 18th and 19th edition, it's been two books and probably will remain that way. But it's remarkable. When I started in immigration, the 1977 Code of Federal Regulations, which are the regulations that immigration lawyers use, it was literally about 2 inches. Wow. Can you imagine? And today it's a huge book of regulations and so forth, and then there were procedures and so forth. So the book is used by most immigration lawyers in the U.S. and was used until Miller and Trump came in by all the immigration judges in the United States as well.
Wow.
So.
Wow. Mr. Kurzban, thank you so much for your time. Maybe the last question I wanted to ask you is, what do you think we're heading in terms of immigration for the next 3 years under the Trump administration?
It's scary. I mean, they've shut down immigration to Haiti completely. They're trying to deport everyone. I mean, Trump has said all this, and I've been telling people about what Trump was going to do for the last 3-4 years, and people, I guess, didn't believe it. These are people who, in my view, are hardcore, white supremacists who don't believe in an America that's inclusive, who want to see and who support like neo-Nazis and others who want to see a white Christian nationalist America. And I think people have to understand that because that's the viewpoint that they're coming at with all of this. So people who think, oh, well, why wouldn't we want high-tech people? Why wouldn't we want the best of the best in the United States? And the truth is they don't want anyone. They don't want Indian nationals. They don't want Chinese nationals who are, making major contributions to science and technology in the U.S. They don't want anyone here. When he says America first, he means a white nationalist America where we don't have people from other countries and wants to close it off. Of course, the irony is Trump is a first-generation American. Miller is the grandchild of family who were in the Holocaust. So it's hard to understand the thinking and mentality of people. I mean, look at Trump's family. Trump's wife is an immigrant. Vance's wife is an immigrant. I mean, you talk about hypocrisy. It's only certain people they want. No, it's not clear who those certain people are because we're talking about millions of hardworking, dedicated people who the American people want here. And as you know, the polls are now showing that. Trump, for the first time, is underwater with respect to his immigration policy. And I imagine it's just going to get worse and worse. And, the hope is eventually things will change in America.
You've been fighting for the Haitian community for a very long time. You know the Haitian community well. Help us educate our worldwide viewers about the Haitian community, especially of South Florida, your personal experience with that community.
No, it's been an incredible community. They made Miami a vibrant city along with the Cubans and the Venezuelans and everyone else. You know, when I came to Miami, which was in 1977, Miami was a dead city. And there was a reason for it, which is the tourism industry, which was the core of Miami, had lost most of that business by people flying to the Caribbean and so forth. If it wasn't for the Cuban community and the Haitian community and the Venezuelan community to make Miami an international gateway to Latin America, we'd be a dead city. So the white Americans who are here owe a lot of what Miami is today to immigrant communities. And the truth is, the Cuban community is the best example of a sane and good immigration policy, because remember, in the early days, they were not treating Haitians well. We were fighting and fighting and fighting. But Cubans really got everything in the sense that they didn't have to worry about immigration. They were given subsidies. They were given English language training. And because of that, all of those benefits, they opened up Miami to Latin America. They created, in large part, the city we have today with other immigrant communities. And that's the story of America. Yeah. I mean, I'm here because my father left his country at 12 years old on his own with a 5th grade education, eventually came to the United States and had 4 sons, 2 lawyers, a doctor, and an electrical engineer. That's the American story. You know, that's what we're all striving for, whether you're Haitian or Venezuelan or Cuban or Nicaraguan. That's what every family wants, to have their children have a better life. And that's what I've been fighting for the Haitian community, because I recognized it in my own family.
Living the American dreams, and you've been helping so many families as well to live that American dream. You are definitely a book to read, and I cannot wait to have you back again on our show. Whenever you want, let us know. We come back to educate our community, to explain the law to them as well, because as immigrant, myself, sometimes we don't know the law, and we made mistakes by not knowing.
Sometimes immigration lawyers don't know the law, and they make mistakes too.
Wow.
So.
Wow.
I mean, it's a very complex area of law, and the bottom line is, you know, I'm happy to come on, happy to talk to people in the Haitian community.
Thank you so much, sir. Wow, what a refreshing conversation with the one and only Ira Kurzban. You can tell I'm a fan now. I'm about to read the book as well to learn more, and I hope that interview really helped you not only to understand that new lawsuit by Haitians against the Trump administration, but also understanding how the immigration as a whole in this country is moving, is changing, and how you should position yourself. I'm James Pierre. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.